Rabbi Manis Friedman, hello. Thank God it's Tuesday. Um, boy, our wonderful, wonderful times we live in. And as I just told in Russian, our audience, new things we have to get used to, such as meta universe, virtual reality. This is the conversation that people are starting to have more and more often. And the question is, how does meta universe affect our lives? Does it present danger to our lives? And of course, even though this is so advanced and so scientific and so, I don't know, does Torah say anything about how to deal with virtual reality? So that would be the question of today, and I so look forward to hearing your answer.
Well, it certainly would not be good to have two different universes and try to live in two different realities. So the virtual reality and the reality have to match. They've got to be exactly the same. Otherwise, we are going to have problems. It's going to become a problem. But it's so strange that people will say things in their virtual reality that they would never say in their real life reality. That's just another bad habit we're developing.
Rabbi Friedman, there are kind of pretty bad things happening in that virtual reality, even though it's relatively new. We know that Facebook has reinvented itself as Meta, meaning that now people are no longer, well, they still can go on Facebook as themselves, but in Meta universe, people are avatars. So pretty much they're represented by something virtual. And unfortunately, and I apologize for this, but this is the reality of meta reality. There's one woman from United Kingdom that said that as soon as she entered this meta universe in 60 seconds, she got gang raped.
She got what?
Gang raped by other avatars. So this is the things that are happening in virtual reality, and it's just how moral, how ethical, and how is this gonna reflect to our reality? And realistically, this is happening now, but it's been happening for so long with the children and the video games. I mean, realistically, whenever a child enters a video game, they become the character that conducts its action in that universe, in that space. And they shoot, mostly they shoot, actually. There's nothing else. So we've been actually living in this reality for a long, long time. At least our children have. Maybe, we missed it, but they haven't, unfortunately. And now it's transferring into where the adults are going to be entering this reality as avatars, and they will be represented there. I don't know how reflective it is. I'm not in it. I am not sure. I'm actually really, really scared of this entire concept, and I'm not sure if I should be. So I don't know how this is going to affect basically the question is a lot deeper. How is it going to affect our psyche, our morality, our ethics, and our life? Because I'm sure a lot of people will start converting very soon. This is new, but soon it's going to be discovered and used.
So that's why we have to be really, really strict on this. What happens in virtual reality must be what's happening in real reality and the other way around. So you don't want your child running around shooting everybody in sight, then they shouldn't be doing this in the virtual world either. And the argument that it is not harmful in real life, that's absurd. The fact that they call it a reality means that it has a very strong effect. So logically, sensibly, responsibly, we can't allow that. You can't live in two realities without one affecting the other and without making you a little crazy. Because when do you act as one and when do you act as the other? So it gets confused and it gets conflicted and there's big problems. So the main principle is what is not acceptable in your real life is not acceptable in your virtual life. You can't have it two ways. So we're going to have to clean that up. And we've had, it was necessary 10 years ago. But, the big experts said that it didn't have an effect. Anybody carrying a gun should be prosecuted. You have the right to own a gun. What are you doing carrying it around on the streets? Unless you have a very good excuse, you should be prosecuted for carrying a gun. You need it for protection at home? Fine, then keep it at home. But everybody in the streets walking around with guns? That's not the effect of all those games and all those violent movies? Of course it is. So we've been lying to ourselves for a long time. What we see in the movies and on television doesn't affect us. Not only is it not true, it's also dishonest. They know that it does. But for the profits that it brings, they don't care. There was actually a movie. What was it called? About the blind piano player, very popular. What was his name?
Nothing comes to mind. I'm sorry.
There are two very popular singers. They play the piano. They're blind.
Oh, Ray Charles?
Ray.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the movie was Ray. In the movie, they show how the executives of the record label are having a meeting, and they're discussing the fact that that kind of music is harmful to teenagers. So they're debating whether they should or shouldn't produce those records. In the end, they decided, yeah, let's do it. So it's not a question of whether it affects young people. We all know it affects them. And we all know that the effect is terrible. But you deny it. You quote some expert that says it's not related. A kid watches violent movies and goes out and does something violent. Not related. It's so silly. It's so unbelievable. So as the world gets better, that will get better too.
Rabbi Friedman, but there's still so many kids. I mean, I think it is the most popular thing for children today is to play video games. I don't think there's anything that occupies their time more or gets them excited more, or it's just their favorite pastime. And I'm not even just children. I mean, young adults and even adults, if they have time to do it. I mean, realistically, what is the side effect of this? Are we seeing these side effects in our reality now? Because it's been around for a long time. I mean, I think probably close to 20 years, if I'm not mistaken.
It has a devastating effect. And the rise in crime, I'm sure it contributes to that too. I think the average kid watching all of these shows and movies and really believes that you can hit somebody over the head with a hammer and they'll be unconscious for a few minutes and then they'll get up and go back to playing. Because that's what they see all the time. You knock somebody unconscious and then they get up and they win the fight. It's so unreal. It's so dangerously untrue to life. So yes, it is horrible, horrible. It's just horrifying to think when you see a group of teenagers on a street corner and they're very animated and they're talking and they're laughing and they're having a great time. What are they talking about? History, geography, literature?
Highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely. So what are they talking about? Politics? It's either violence or sex, because that is all they're fed. That has been their diet exclusively for 20 years. That's all they talk about. That's all they ever get excited about. And when they need a little variety, they decide to change their sex. It is really crazy. And whoever those experts are who claim that it doesn't have a negative effect, and all those companies that produce these things, they are maliciously destroying young people. Now, I always thought it was for the money. Now I'm starting to suspect that there's actually a desire to destroy society. To undermine a society, you destroy their values. You get them to believe in nothing. Then you can take over the country very easily. So yeah, it's pretty dark. But it's all going away.
Rabbi Friedman, I think we're kind of running out of patience, to be honest. One more aspect of this, the progress, we're seeing the technological progress really accelerating by the moment. I mean, with pandemic, I don't know what's the connection. Maybe everything has been already being worked on beforehand, and now everything is just coming out more and more and more. But anyway, there is such an thing as Neuralink. It just went in the news very recently. It's something that Elon Musk has been working on, and originally it was intended for people with disabilities. However, to aid people with disabilities to get their disabilities, help them with their disabilities, help them to be functional. And the researchers, however, they took it, not yet, but they're taking it a step further. And it's stimulation of the brain. That's how it works. So now they want to offer, with the help of this device, on-demand orgasm. I am sorry to be discussing this with you, but this is humanity and kind of along the same lines as virtual reality, because obviously this will not take a partner, so it's kind of also a virtual thing. But what do you think the side effects of this particular device, in this kind of, I guess it's sexual content, will have on the society?
Extremely damaging. It'll deprive people of their basic humanity. So I don't think it's going to get popular. It's too diabolical.
Rabbi Friedman, but our society became, sex is for the end result. And I apologize about this conversation, but you're the expert on this topic. It's never been about anything but the end result. We have to achieve. And what do we achieve? We achieve orgasm. So this is such a shortcut. Now you don't really need a partner. You can just go straight to the source. So if we've been doing it all along, why would this be more damaging than what has been going on until this point?
It will be more damaging because it's corrupting an even deeper part of you. Understood properly, human sexuality consists of the pleasure of giving and the pleasure of receiving. The virtual experience is neither giving nor receiving. So it'll destroy male psyche, female psyche. It'll dehumanize us very quickly. Not that we aren't already a little dehumanized, but it'll accelerate it exponentially, and people are simply going to get extremely disturbed and sick. You can't fool Mother Nature. It's like chewing gum messes up your digestive system because you can't fool Mother Nature. When you're chewing, your stomach expects food. Chewing gum means you activate your enzymes, you activate your stomach's process, but no food comes. It destroys itself, basically. It's like running a car without oil, without gas. You destroy the engine. So it can't possibly catch on because the results will be so devastating so quickly, there'll be no denying it. So is there a positive use for that kind of technology? Yes. Grow back an arm when you lose an arm, God forbid. That would be nice. Grow back a tooth. That would be nice. And it should be possible. So that's the good news.
Yes, Rabbi Friedman, I wouldn't pick this dark topic without putting some good news into it, of course. And again, I apologize, but, we do have to be prepared for everything these days. But yes, in actually today's news, very recently it came out, 3 people who were paralyzed were given the ability to walk again after receiving a spinal cord implant during a study in Lausanne University Hospital. And the device takes brain activity and sending electric pulses to the muscles. So 3 people are actually able to walk because of technology. So of course, there's both sides to this coin.
Yeah, that's very good, but it will become a lot better where you won't need an implant. You don't have to become a $6 million man.
How will that work?
Stimulate the part of the brain that can stimulate healing and growth that we haven't accessed before. So the body will heal itself, which is the healthiest, the most real, the most impressive form of healing. But implants, that's second best.
Still great to have very positive results, and so happy for the people who are actually now walking because of it. Speaking about brain, Rabbi Friedman, the greatest teaching we have, one of the greatest teachings we have is Tanya, which concentrates on how to control yourself through brain, which of course then leads to activating the heart and calling out certain emotions. I mean, I'm definitely not an expert. I'm just trying to practice it as much as possible. However, I'm trying to connect everything that we are talking about today about what is happening to people's brains and how it's gonna how it affecting then, of course, their entire being. And I'm thinking basically how to resolve all of this, or how to give people advice on how to handle themselves when they're being sucked into this dark universe. I don't want to say anything else. It is kind of dark at this time. It has a possibility to be very light, but at this time it's very dark. And of course, how to protect our children from this, I don't know, probably disease. I don't know if I'm using the right words, but I'm kind of expressing the emotions that I have towards all of this. Please, advice.
You remember the story when Yaakov leaves home and he goes off to Haran, which is outside of the land of Israel, and he spends the night on the road, and he takes some of the stones of the place and he surrounds his head with them. And the commentaries say he was protecting himself from wild animals. And the obvious question is, if you're protecting yourself from wild animals, it's not enough to surround your head. What about the rest of the body? So Hasidus explains, Hasidic thinking, this was not wild animals of the four-legged type. When you're away from home, you kind of lose your identity a little bit. Nobody knows who you are. You're not in your normal daily routine, and things can go wild. You do things away from home that you would never do at home. Those are the wild animals. When your mind starts to wander and you don't have the support, the moral support that you have at home. So Yaakov was concerned only with his mind, because if the mind is healthy, everything else is healthy. There are times when people try to corrupt others, maybe even whole societies, with temptation. This is tempting, this is irresistible, this is desirable. So you play on people's desires and wants and needs. And that is certainly a form of corruption, seduction. But it's seducing the emotions. That is not nearly as dangerous as a corrupt education, where what you're corrupting is not your emotions, but your head. If the head is corrupt, then there is no hope, because the head is the nerve center that controls everything. So when they start messing with the education, when they start convincing you of things that are not true and are not good and are not holy, then it's much more dangerous than people indulging their desires. Because as long as the head is healthy, eventually people will realize, I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting my life, this is not a way to live, and they'll get their act together. But if the brain is confused, if it's been fed toxic information, where's the hope? How is that ever going to stop and get better? So that's much more frightening, much more destructive. And that's why we have to be so careful what we put into children's minds. They have their desires, they have their spoiled, what is it called? The feeling of entitlements. And they can't say no to any desire or appetite. But if the head was healthy, there's someone to talk to. There's something to work with. When the head is not healthy, and there's nobody to talk to. So what could possibly save us? Our will. Willpower is stronger than the influence of the mind. So when it comes to a primary will, I don't want this kind of life. I don't know what the alternative is because I've been brainwashed and I've been misled, misinformed. I don't know what's better, but I don't want this. That can save us, and that's going to save us. So people are coming to Judaism, Jews and non-Jews, saying, what can you tell me? They don't know what they're going to hear because their mind is so full of garbage. All they know is that they don't want this. They want something better. And that's going to pull us out. That's going to get us past the toxins, and we will replace the misinformation with good information, and then we start to heal. And that has already started. People are saying, I don't want this. I don't know what I do want, but I don't want this.
It sure did, Rabbi Friedman. I'm hearing it all across the board as well. I mean, people who are just saying, the wake up is not that, what has happened to us throughout COVID. I think this is probably the next stage of being awake, is that people are saying, oh my God, I've been wasting my life. I actually intentionally wasted time. I did nothing with my time. Yes, I worked. I had a family. Yes, but I intentionally woke up and thought, how am I going to waste a couple of hours? How am I going to spend them, not wisely, the other way. Just relax, do nothing, watch something silly. And this is the wake up, that I did nothing with my life, and which is actually not really true, but I hear it because people had families, people were productive, they went to work. What would you tell those people who are kind of, waking up like this and they're being a little bit too hard on themselves, I think, or maybe I'm wrong about that?
So here's what the brainwashing and the misinformation and the malicious spreading of false beliefs and false teachings, which I think began in the 70s. It's been a long project, and it's been very successful. It has made total fools out of otherwise intelligent people. When the bad information becomes acceptable as the norm, it's even called sophisticated, like the woke craziness. It's considered sophisticated. If you're not woke, you're behind the times. You're inferior. You're a loser. So doubting, atheism, and antisocial behavior has become a sign of intelligence, of superior quality. That kind of lying, that kind of misinformation, it's not by accident, and people are not stupid. But when you keep getting bombarded, beginning with universities, with this malicious message, the people who spread it are laughing because they found a way to manipulate naive and innocent minds to actually believe the most ridiculous things. It is got to end, and it is ending because people are not as gullible as, well, for a while, I guess. You can fool most of the people some of the time. And that's what happened. But that time has run out.
Rabbi Friedman, it's I certainly hope so, but we still, people are coming to different conclusions in their lives. Some people, other people are still hoping to return to what they call is back to normal. We see ridiculous things happening in the world today on daily basis. This week we have seen also kind of deals with virtual reality, but in a different sense. We saw economic tyranny when it came to the famous truckers that are standing up right now. People donated $10 million, and those money were never given to them because somewhere down the line somebody decided that this is not a good cause, and this is not what, it's not going to be supported by a very good company that actually was used for a lot of good, for a lot of great fundraising. GoFundMe is a wonderful company. I used it a number of times. I gave money through it, but now we are kind of limited as far as that. So someone for us is still deciding what's proper, what's improper, and still giving us hard time to come to the right conclusions, right decisions, and act upon those decisions. And it's tyranny that's doing it. So how will we be able to overcome it, basically, is my question, because it's still being controlled somewhere, somehow, and we are not in control of our, even like when we want to do something, we are stopped. I mean, realistically, stopped. There's more control than we could ever imagine in our lives. Before it was subtle, and now it's very much in our face. How do we deal with that?
Very much in our face is a big blessing. That's the good news. As long as we were being convinced that what we're doing is right, there wasn't very much hope that things will change. But now that what we want to do is being frustrated, now we've got a fight on our hands. A fight we can win. Stupidity we can't win. So when we stop being ridiculous and stop believing every half-baked theory on, with the argument that it is the height of morality, when that happens, then there is really hope. So people donate $10 million and somebody takes it. I mean, we may be naive, but nobody takes our money without a fight. So now that there's a showdown, things will become a lot better. And I'm glad that they're so blatant and so unapologetic about it. That's good. That works in our favor. And because they're so arrogant and think they've already won the war, and therefore no need to hide their evil intentions anymore, that's going to be their undoing. So yeah, bring it on. Be totally blunt, be totally upfront about all your evils. That will help our cause very much. Remember, we talked quite a while ago, maybe at the beginning of COVID, that the solution will come from some very unexpected and unlikely sources. So you have the universities, you have professors, you have intellectuals, you have writers, thinkers. Nothing is coming from them. Nothing. But truckers. You see what's going on here? The
Yeah, Rabbi
Trumps will
Friedman.
save our unbelievable.
I know. I always think about what you said, that it's going to come from somewhere unexpected. And I keep on looking and, just, yeah, truckers and the people who are supporting them.
And in Canada, what
Yeah. Yeah.
you think Americans are independent, but no, Americans are like they lost their way. So it really that was the last place you would expect.
Also, what is interesting is that the world is changing, but in a spotty way. So some countries now are saying, we're done with COVID. Great, we're finished. Other countries are actually tightening up the belt and, have a 4-year plan in mind, of how they're still going to be vaccinating and mandating and all of that. So now it's kind of like the world is becoming spotty. Before it was everybody was in on it and everybody had to act the same way. All the countries were in agreement. So I'm just now kind of thinking a little bit ahead of how it will affect the world, because now what are we saying? Is this science? Is this politics? Is this governments? Is this common sense? I mean, where do we stand on the COVID situation? What do you think?
Well, I don't know, medically speaking, what's going to be, but it's definitely frightening when there is a uniform thinking all over the world. Everybody is thinking the same. That's not good. Now that people are starting to voice opinion, this is an improvement. This is great news. People are thinking again. That can't be bad. So yeah, they had us hypnotized there for a while, but people are thinking again. The panic is over. People are becoming a little more rational now, and so they're developing independent thought, and so you're going to get that spotty effect. Like people, how do you recognize people who are members of a cult? You recognize them because they sound the same, they talk the same, they dress the same, they think the same. That's brainwashed. That's dangerous. So when everybody was thinking the same, it was a little scary. No one has an alternative opinion. That never happened before in history. Now you're going to say, well, when Mashiach comes, we'll all be thinking the same. We won't all be thinking the same. We will have the same values, but everyone will go about it in their individual ways.
Rabbi Friedman, it hurts how much, a lot of people want this to already happen as soon as possible. Amazing, amazing. So many insights in one little show every week. Rabbi Friedman, thank you so much. We have a few minutes left, and what would you like to leave us with this week until we have this opportunity again next week?
Again, we're in the month of Adar, the month of joy, the month of Purim. We have it twice this year because it's a leap year. So we should take advantage of the fact that our mazel is strong in this month. If you need to do things that were difficult in the past, they're going to be easier to accomplish during this month. If you have a court case, if you have a difficult issue to resolve, now's the time, because we're feeling more positive, we're thinking more positive, and that is always helpful. And we should get ready to celebrate Purim perfectly this year, with all the mitzvahs involved, simply out of gratitude that somehow God didn't allow us to go completely unconscious.
Amen, Rabbi Friedman. Thank you so much. Another amazing hour of absolute magic wisdom and insights and positivity, and it's phenomenal. It's so needed in this day and age for all of us. Thank you so much what you're doing here on USA Radio and every single moment of your life on your on all the spaces where people can find you. YouTube, it's goodtoknow.org, on bookshelves, your books. So it's amazing. Thank you so much. And of course, fantastic sessions that people can join. Actually, I'm on one of yours now. So fantastic. Thank you. And I look forward to meeting you there. And of course, next week on our radio. Thank you again very, very, very much.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.